For me to really get into music was when I met Jim Cummins, and he had just done the Mondo Art Cabaret. So that would have been about 78, I believe. And I met him in around 79, and within moments he wanted to recreate the Braineaters. And we were going to be doing a show at the Helen Pit, but of course he had no band. So quickly we put one together, you know, with Ivo Zanata on congo, and I was on bass and Jim was on guitar, and the crowd went nuts. And so it's the age-old where, you know, we were convinced we should stick this out. Now, you know, from there we went out and got the Braineater house and set up shop, recording studio, you know, right there in the downtown east side. Well, there was about 3 houses together, DOA being one of them, and there was 2 on either side, and we were just kitty-cornered to them. So we had just enough distance to maintain our independence of it all. And as I was saying earlier, we were kind of a little bit different kettle of fish. I was sculpting, Jim was sculpting, painting, and we were all painting. And it was a real art house. So that was a big focus for us. Music was part of it, but we wanted to be like the total renaissance. Vancouver Art School was the only art school in all of Vancouver. And in fact, where I was in Gastown, because Vancouver Art School was growing, and they had to have places to put these students. So our school was actually in an old abandoned meat factories in Gastown in those days. They had many floors that they could occupy, and that's where I went to art school. But, you know, a lot of the faculty were artists themselves who needed a job. And I won't bother naming them all off, but
doesn't need it.
You know what I mean? And so even art school became a little intimidating because it was just so academic, you know, and we just by nature weren't academic people. We were more intuitive people. That's where we'd come from, the sticks. You know, now we're in the big city and that kind of thing. There was a huge emphasis placed on analysis, that you would have to analyze and justify and clarify, and somehow or another it would have to be in context with all the other things that had ever happened. And a lot of us were just not capable of that. We just didn't have that kind of training. We hadn't come from that background. There was a lot of nepotism going on. I mean, we knew stories. We knew stories of, you know, sexual favors for art shows, for instance. That was a very common, if I may, pre-AIDS kind of world where there was a lot of, you know, if you don't. And there's some great, incredible stories that we would hear, and our jaws would literally drop, and it would justify why we didn't want anything to do with these people who seemed to know so much. The other thing that's really important to remember is that if you ever wanted to get a Canada Council grant, trust me, you had to know not only all of this incredible history, but it was who you knew and how you knew and where you knew, and if you saddled up, if you ponied up, then you're going to get it. And if not, tough luck. You got to go wash dishes at the medieval